Dash, O mode of transportation, is highly suitable for the places where dash and dash cannot be construed because of the terrain of such regions.
Well done. Airways, roadways, railways is the right choice.
The tools became more sophisticated and farmers started cultivating crops near the river bank of Nile and Indus Valley.
Smart move. True is an accurate answer.
Coastal areas are usually heavily impacted by these large rotating storms that form over warm tropical waters.
You got it. Your choice hurricanes is right.
A dash is caused by strong storms that form over the ocean and cause heavy rains, high winds, and flooding.
Valid point. Hurricane is true.
The understanding of how population size, resource production use, and technology affect the environment helps us make informed decisions to minimize negative human impacts on the natural world.
You chose true, and it is correct.
When houses are spaced far apart and often interspersed with fields, it is known as dash settlement.
Nice selection. Dispersed settlement is the correct and valid answer.
Building homes on stilts is one way that people living along coastlines dash their environment.
Right choice. Adapt to is the best answer.
Using the image provided, which part of human environment interaction could this relate to?
Excellent choice. Adapt is the right answer.
Mrs. Mack decides that she would like to see more plants growing at school. She goes out to the back of the school and has her students start digging up the land to plant some crops.
Strong choice. Modify is the right answer.
The cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata are connected via dash quadrilateral.
Clear logic. Your choice golden is sound and 100% true.
True or false? The environment affects people, but people don't affect the environment.
Nicely done. False is a solid answer.
A dash is caused by devastating storms with high winds that usually form over land.
Great job. Tornado is the accurate answer.
And dash occurs when part of the solid ground beneath the surface suddenly shifts.
Right again? Earthquake is a valid answer.
This drill might be practiced in preparation for which type of physical process?
Correct response. Earthquake is the most accurate answer.
The study of people, their cultures, their distribution across Earth's surface.
Nice work. You chose human geography and it is correct.
Raw materials can be easily transported from the mining areas or farms to dash.
Sharp thinking. Factories is the right choice.
Ancient Egyptians rebuilt their homes each year after the annual flooding. As time went on, they built their homes above where the water flooded. This is an example of dash.
Smart pick. Adapting is the correct choice.
The weather conditions prevailing in an area in general or over a long period.
You're right. Climate is the correct answer.
Increase in which gas is primarily responsible for increased global warming.
Well picked. Carbon dioxide is the correct answer.
People change in order to fit new conditions or a new environment to survive.
Well reasoned. Adaptation is the correct choice.
Early farmers started to cultivate the crops near which two river banks.
Correct. Nile and Indus Valley is the right answer.
If bulky and heavy goods to be sent over long distances, one would use.
Good job. Your answer, waterways, works well here.
The discoveries of fire, iron, and wheel were big steps towards Dash.
Perfect. Civilization is the correct choice.
Which continent is home to the majority of the world's rainforests?
Bravo. South America is the answer. Adjusting the way we live in or around landforms to meet our needs. Excellent. Human adaptation is a brilliant choice. Refers to a natural resource that cannot be remade or replenished. Exactly. Non-renewable resource makes sense and it is right choice. When the animals in story, the Lorax, no longer had what they needed to live, they left. We referred to this as what kind of interaction with the environment. Good thinking. Adapt is the right answer.
It means places or location where people set up homes to live.
Great thinking. Human settlements is the right choice. A dash occurs when water rises in area and has no place to go. On track. Flood is the correct answer. This is an example of modifying the environment through dash.
Solid response. Mining is a valid choice.
Humans change the environment around them to meet their needs.
Strong choice. Human modification is the right answer.
This adaptation is necessary when an area is prone to dash.
Nicely done. Tornadoes is a solid answer.
True or false? Volcanoes are found around the ring of fire.
You chose true, and it is correct. Is this an example of a modification or an adaptation?
Great job. Adaptation is the accurate answer.
All of these daily events are possible due to dash. Nice work. You chose oil and gas, and it is correct. Clearing forests to use the area for other purposes.
Solid response. Deforestation is a valid choice.
Which of the following can the environment affect?
Bravo. All of the above is the answer.
The first metro system in India was established in.
You're right. Kolkata is the correct answer.
Airways is most dash and dash means of transport.
Smart pick. Expensive, fastest is the correct choice.
Dash mode of transportation is highly suitable for the places where dash ash, wherein dash cannot be construed, because of the terrain of such regions. On track. Airways, roadways, railways is the correct answer.
Elevated houses in Galveston in an example of.
Valid point. Adapting to the environment is true.
New and creative ways of using existing tools.
Excellent choice. Technological innovation is the right answer. The railway network is well developed over. Well done. Plain areas is the right choice.
This is an example of dash environments. They include rolling hills, snow-capped mountains, swampy lowlands, high plateaus, and forests.
Good thinking. Physical is the right answer.
A dash produces snow and heavy winds.
Right again. Blizzard is a valid answer. The study of Earth's surface features. Well picked. Physical geography is the correct answer.
People who live in the northeastern United States use heating units to keep their homes warm in winter. This is an example of dash.
Clear logic. Your choice adapting is sound and 100% true.
Choose the word that best completes the sentence. Throughout history, people have settled near dash to help meet their basic needs.
Well reasoned. Water is the correct choice.
This woman is dash her environment.
Exactly. Adapting to make sense, and it is right choice.
This picture is an example of dash. Perfect. Modify is the correct choice.
Match the image to its description. Nice selection. Installing solar panels is the correct and valid answer.
Increasing population size has led to increased resource production and use, which has negatively impacted the environment.
Smart move. True is an accurate answer.
When pollution affects someone or something not involved in the activity that produces the pollution, this effect is called
Sharp thinking. Spillover is the right choice.
A triangle shape created by sediment being left by the mouth of a river, where it separates into multiple smaller outlets.
great thinking. Delta is the right choice. In ancient times, the annual flooding of the Nile River produced good soil for growing crops. This is an example of dash. Right choice. Depending is the best answer.
Choose the word that best completes the sentence. People dash their environment when they change it to meet their needs.
Excellent. Modify is a brilliant choice.
Choose the word that best completes the sentence. People dash when they change how they live based on their environment.
Good job. Your answer adapt works well here.
Identify this animal.
You got it? Your choice tapir is right. Wearing sunscreen to protect our skin from the sun's rays is an example of what interaction with the environment.
Correct response. Adapt is the most accurate answer.
What is changing something about the environment to make the environment that you live in work better for you?
Correct. Modification is the right answer.
It is the process of sending information, ideas or messages from one person to another through different means.
Right again. Communication is a valid answer.
The depletion of natural resources is a direct result of human activities and their impact on the environment.
On track. True is the correct answer.
Modern-day Egyptians have built the Aswan Dam to keep the Nile River from flooding. This is an example of dash.
Smart move. Modifying is an accurate answer.
Dash is one of the fastest growing cities in the world that uses man-made islands to reclaim land in the sea. Good thinking. Dubai is the right answer.
What is all of the physical surroundings in a place, including the land, animals, water, plants, and climate?
Clear logic. Your choice environment is sound and 100% true.
What is to make something suitable for a different purpose or to change because you are in a new situation?
Nice work. You chose adapt, and it is correct.
Technology has played a significant role in both positive and negative human impacts on the natural world. Great job. True is the accurate answer.
Places like Japan that experience high levels of volcanic and tectonic activity are more susceptible to.
Correct. Tsunamis is the right answer.
What do humans depend on to provide food, water, energy, and other materials that are needed to survive?
Smart pick. The environment is the correct choice. Human activities, such as deforestation and pollution, have contributed to an increase in biodiversity.
You got it? Your choice false is right.
What is the term used to describe the orange or red color of water due to sulfuric acid contamination? You chose acid mine drainage, and it is correct. True or false? Ancient civilizations, including the Romans and Egyptians, modified their environments. Bravo! True is the answer.
What is a people's identity and way of life, including customs, food, dwellings, and family structure?
Well picked. Culture is the correct answer. Which of the following is an example of modifying the geography to help farmers in a hilly region? Great thinking. Terrace farming is the right choice. Natural materials, which can be used by humans, are known as sharp thinking. Natural resources is the right choice. The system of roads, bridges, tunnels, sidewalks, and other public spaces is known as a cities. Nice selection. Infrastructure is the correct and valid answer. When people change the way they live in order to fit new conditions or a new environment, it is right choice. Adaptation is the best answer. Seasonal winds that bring intense rainfall during part of the year. What is this an example of? What? Excellent choice. Monsoon is the right answer. In the story, the Lorax. What kind of interaction do we call the cutting down of the trees? Solid response. Modify is a valid choice. What are people who hunt animals and gather wild plants, seeds, fruits, and nuts to survive? Nicely done. Hunter-gatherers is a solid answer. Which of the following is a sustainable practice to reduce human impact on the environment? Valid point. Using renewable energy sources is true. Which scientific field primarily studies the impact of human activities on the environment? Good job. Your answer ecology works well here. What change has resulted from a growth of populations and overgrazing in the Sahel region? Correct response. Desertification is the most accurate answer.
When people modify the environment by digging canals to bring water to crops, it is called.
You're right. Irrigation is the correct answer. Infrastructure is how buildings and transportation units work together to meet our needs. Well done. True is the right choice. What is known as the most consistent weather conditions in an area over a period of time? Excellent. Climate is a brilliant choice.
Water polluted by a farmer's poor irrigation control of fertilized lands is an example of.
Perfect. Non-point source pollution is the correct choice. The development of desert-like conditions due to human activities or animal overgrazing. Well reasoned. Desertification is the correct choice. In the Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta area, Bengal tiger, crocodiles, and alligators are found. Strong choice. True is the right answer.
What was an important industry in North Carolina between the Civil War and World War I?
Exactly. Textiles make sense, and it is right choice.
A natural substance, such as iron or salt, that can be reached by digging into the earth.
You got it. Your choice minerals is right.
What is inhabiting in a land from the earliest times or from the arrival of colonists?
Right again. Indigenous is a valid answer.
What provides birds in rain forests with shelter from predators and the rainy climate?
Valid point, canopy is true.
An example of a human factor, or a way that humans affect the environment of a place is. Nicely done. Pollution is a solid answer.
True or false? The environment affects people, but people don't affect the environment.
Excellent choice. False is the right answer.
Since the 1800s, what has changed the landscape and led to the growth of large cities?
You chose industrialization, and it is correct.
Building dams, plowing and irrigating fields, and digging mines are examples of dash.
Perfect. Modifying is the correct choice. The dash in an area provide materials, food, and clothing for people settling there.
Right choice. Natural resources is the best answer.
What is the main reason why the town of Pitcher is declared uninhabitable by the EPA?
Bravo. Contaminated groundwater is the answer.
Cutting down trees to build a road is an example of what kind of human interaction?
Good thinking. Modify is the right answer.
The increase in Earth's temperature caused by carbon dioxide trapping radiation is.
Well done. The greenhouse effect is the right choice.
What is the name of the abandoned ghost town in the northeast corner of Oklahoma?
Nice work. You chose Pitcher, and it is correct.
Which continent would early humans have not migrated on to get to North American?
Well reasoned. Australia is the correct choice. What is a land bridge that connected Asia with North America during the Ice Age?
Nice selection. Brebea is the correct and valid answer.
Dash are built on steep slopes to create dash surfaces on which crops are grown.
Well picked. Terraces, flat is the correct answer.
Match the resource to how people use it to meet their needs. X. Lakes and rivers.
Clear logic. Your choice, fishing is sound and 100% true. In prehistoric time, people lived near areas where they had immediate access to.
Smart move. Food and water is an accurate answer.
The destruction of forests by cutting them down or through burning is known as.
Correct. Deforestation is the right answer.
Prior to the Industrial Revolution, humans relied mostly on what kind of power?
Strong choice. Animate power is the right answer.
A natural resource that can never be replaced once it is used.
You're right. Non-renewable resources is the correct answer.
Humans needing air to breathe is what kind of interaction with the environment?
Exactly. Depend makes sense, and it is right choice.
What affects the choices of foods, shelter, clothing, and general way of life?
Sharp thinking. Physical environment is the right choice.
When I look outside and see the visible features of an area, I'm seeing the
On track. Landscape is the correct answer.
What is the main occupation of the people living in Ganga-Brahmaputra basin? Great thinking. Agriculture is the right choice.
What is the term used to describe the contamination caused by mining waste?
Great job. Acid mine drainage is the accurate answer. What is the name of the creek that is heavily contaminated by mining waste?
Solid response. Tar Creek is a valid choice.
What is any living thing found in nature that can be used by living things? Good job. Your answer, natural resource, works well here. The increase in population size has directly affected the environment by smart pick. Increasing demand for resources is the correct choice. True or false? Human activities have no impact on the natural water cycle. Excellent. False is a brilliant choice. Early humans could get fresh water from all of the sources below except. Correct response. Ocean is the most accurate answer.
soil, plants, water, and animals are examples of what type of resources?
You're right. Renewable is the correct answer. A common reason for pollution is that it is produced by an activity that nicely done. Leads to economic growth is a solid answer. Which mining company played a major role in the development of pitcher? Correct. Eagle Pitcher Lead Company is the right answer. Dash takes place when humans have changed some part of the environment. Great job. Modification is the accurate answer. Kaziranga and Manas wildlife reserves are located in the state of Dash.
You got it. Your choice, Assam, is right.
What is not a global problem related to human-environment interaction? Valid point. Just mapping is true. When there is a change to the environment to meet the needs of people. On track, modification is the correct answer. At current rates of use, the proven reserve to run out first would be. Nice selection. Petroleum is the correct and valid answer. Which word means to make something suitable for a new use or purpose? Excellent. Adapt is a brilliant choice. What is a common method used to study human-environment interaction? Good thinking. Field studies and surveys is the right answer. Using animal hides to help build your shelter is an example of Dash. Exactly. Adaptation makes sense and it is right choice.
A dash includes all living and non-living things in an environment.
Perfect. Ecosystem is the correct choice. When was the region of Pitcher declared a Superfund site by the EPA? You chose 1983, and it is correct. Main occupation of the tribal communities in Amazon rainforest are. Solid response. All of these is a valid choice. Humans change their behaviors or actions because of the environment. Right choice. Adaptations is the best answer. Which of the following is an example of a renewable energy source? Right again. Wind is a valid answer. Which of the following country is not a part of Amazon rainforest? Well reasoned.
Argentina is the correct choice.
Dash are the fastest of land transport and used for long distance.
Well picked. Railways is the correct answer. What did the once-ler give to the person at the end of the story? Excellent choice. A truffula seed is the right answer.
The factor that is most likely to change a region's landscape is.
Bravo. Settlers is the answer.
They dash the land by cutting through the hills to build a road. Great thinking. Modified is the right choice. The place where a river flows into another water body is called. Smart pick. River's mouth is the correct choice. What are the 3 ways humans interact with their environment?
Well done. Modify, adapt. Depend is the right choice.
What is the primary form of contamination from the chat piles? Nice work. You chose toxic metals and it is correct.
What natural disaster destroyed most of San Francisco in 1906?
Sharp thinking. Earthquake is the right choice. A natural resource that can be replaced. Smart move. Renewable resource is an accurate answer.
The combination of sulfur oxide with oxygen and water produces.
Strong choice. Acid precipitation is the right answer.
What was the main source of lead and zinc during World War I?
Clear logic. Your choice Peacherfield is sound and 100% true.
Which modifications have a negative impact on the environment?
Good job. Your answer, all of these works well here. Where have we seen a big reduction in rainforest since 1950?
Correct response. Central America is the most accurate answer.
On which riverbank are Allahabad, Kampa, Varanasi located? You got it. Your choice, River Ganga, is right. Which is the most expensive means of transportation in Nepal? You're right. Airways is the correct answer. An area of land that drains into one body of water is called. Perfect. A watershed is the correct choice.
Which of the following is not a means of mass communication?
Well reasoned. Mobile is the correct choice. The widespread cutting down of trees without replacing them. Well done. Deforestation is the right choice.
Humans change their surroundings to help them.
Strong choice. Modifications is the right answer.
What are the mountains of gravel and dust in Pitcher called?
Clear logic. Your choice chat piles is sound and 100% true. What is a way people can positively impact the environment? Bravo! Using solar power is the answer. In which region the tropical grassland is known as campos? Solid response. Brazil is a valid choice. To conserve the river Ganga, which program was initiated? Right choice. Namami is the best answer. The United States has relatively large proven reserves of. Correct. Coal is the right answer. Which of the following is a pollutant at the local scale? Smart pick. Carbon monoxide is the correct choice. What can be found on the edges of cities and large towns? Good job.
Your answer, suburbs, works well here.
What is a natural feature of the Earth's surface called? Excellent. Landform is a brilliant choice. The flesh-eating piranha fish is found in Amazon River. You chose true, and it is correct.
Why there is less density of population in hilly areas? Nicely done. Slope and harsh climate is a solid answer.
Humans rely on their environment for food and clothing.
Nice selection. Depend is the correct and valid answer.
How did economic activity move away from city centers? Correct response. Interstate highway systems is the most accurate answer. The moral of the Lorax is an example of how we should. Good thinking. Practice sustainable development is the right answer.
Wearing different clothes during the winter or summer.
Exactly.
Adapt makes sense and it is right choice.
Pollution without a central source of origin is termed. Great job. Non-point source pollution is the accurate answer.
About how many tributaries does the Amazon River have?
Valid point. Over 1,000 is true. What did the person need to do with the truffula seed? Great thinking. Plant it is the right choice.
Name one of the main fishes in the Amazon rainforest.
Nice work. You chose tambaqui and it is correct. West Bengal and Assam are known for dash plantations. Excellent choice. T is the right answer. A large, usually artificial lake used to supply water. On track, reserva is the correct answer. Tea is grown in plantations of which states of India? V. Smart move. West Bengal. Assam is an accurate answer. What did the once lerm make out of the truffula trees? Well picked. All of the above is the correct answer. The construction of this dam decreased silt deposits. Sharp thinking. Aswan High Dam is the right choice. Building dams, roads and tunnels are examples of dash. Right again. Modifying is a valid answer. Agra is on the confluence of River Ganga and Yamuna. Correct response. False is the most accurate answer. Terrace farming is practiced and seen in dash areas. Great thinking. Hilly is the right choice. Saudi Arabia has relatively large proven reserves of. Sharp thinking. Petroleum is the right choice. Which is the longest tributary in the Amazon basin? Valid point. Apurimac River is true. To preserve and protect something is also known as. Nice selection. Conservation is the correct and valid answer.
From where do scientists believe humans originated?
Correct. Africa is the right answer. What country is to the south of the United States? Perfect. Mexico is the correct choice. Dash is the only freshwater lake in Sahara Desert. Good thinking. Lake Chad is the right answer. The biggest tropical desert in the entire world is. Right again. Sahara is a valid answer.
The Amazon basin is characterized by dash climate.
You're right. Hot and wet is the correct answer.
Which of the following can the environment affect?
Nice work. You chose all of the above and it is correct. What is the main occupation of Brahmaputra Basin? Smart pick. Agriculture is the correct choice.
It rains only for 2 months in the Amazon basin.
On track. False is the correct answer. How is the climate of Amazon basin characterized?
Strong choice. By hot and wet is the right answer.
Which existing snake is the longest in the world?
Smart move. The green anaconda is an accurate answer. Sahara Desert is also rich in minerals like dash. Good job. Your answer all of these works well here. Which transportation system ships goods fastest?
Well reasoned. Airplane is the correct choice.
Major sources of water pollution include all but. Well picked. Motorboats is the correct answer. Romans using aqueducts to carry water for miles. Exactly. Positive modification makes sense, and it is right choice. What climate pattern causes flooding in India?
Nicely done. Summer monsoons is a solid answer.
Spanish explorers discovered the Amazon River. Clear logic. Your choice true is sound and 100% true. Dash can be easily developed in plain regions. You chose railways, and it is correct. Elevated houses in Galveston in an example of. Excellent choice. Adapting to the environment is the right answer. The materials made by nature that people use. Excellent. Natural resources is a brilliant choice.
People in Dash eat queen ants and their eggs.
Great job. Amazon basin is the accurate answer. What is the climate in tropical rainforests? Bravo, warm and wet is the answer. How much do the rainforest cover the world? You got it? Your choice 6% is right.
Where did the earliest civilizations arise?
Right choice. River valleys is the best answer. The earth will most likely never run out of.
Well done. Plants is the right choice.
What is the dominant plants of a grassland?
Solid response. Grasses and shrubs is a valid choice.
Transportation is very helpful for the dash.
Smart pick. Industrialization is the correct choice. How do humans adapt to cold environments? Exactly. Wearing insulated clothing makes sense, and it is right choice. When farmers use chemicals, they may cause. Strong choice. Pollution is the right answer. An area that is known by certain features. Sharp thinking. Region is the right choice. What did the Onceler's factory produce? Great thinking. The needs is the right choice. The Aral Sea has disappeared because of. Perfect. Human-environment interaction is the correct choice. A gas threatening Earth's ozone layer is. Nicely done. Chlorofluorocarbons is a solid answer.
Which human action can cause pollution?
You got it. Your choice mining is right. How does the environment affect humans? Nice selection. Both is the correct and valid answer. How do humans affect their environment?
Excellent. Both is a brilliant choice.
Which item below is a natural resource?
Good job, your answer trees works well here. What word did the Lorax leave behind?
Solid response, unless is a valid choice.
Where is one-horned rhinoceros found?
Great job. Brahmaputra pine is the accurate answer.
Pollution can cause harm to the dash.
Nice work. You chose all of the above, and it is correct.
Delaying school opening due to snow.
Right again. Adapt is a valid answer. Cash crops of Brahmaputra basin are. Clear logic. Your choice sugarcane and jute is sound and 100% true. What crop did American Indians grow? Valid point. Sunflowers is true.
Drinking hot chocolate in the winter?
Correct response. Adapt is the most accurate answer.
What continent are we currently on?
You're right. North America is the correct answer.
Manioc food belongs to the area of.
On track. South America is the correct answer.
Ladakh is situated in the state of. Excellent choice. Jammu and Kashmir is the right answer. Which one is not a natural hazard? You chose mountain stream, and it is correct. Dash are important nomadic tribe. Good thinking. Bedouins is the right answer. In Canada, which grassland is found?
Bravo. Temperate grassland is the answer.
Most sources of energy today are. Well picked. Fossil fuels is the correct answer.
Kolkata is located on the river.
Smart move. Hooghly is an accurate answer.
Which is not a basic human need. Correct. Markets is the right answer. What is essential to human life? Well done. Fresh water is the right choice. The Amazon basin is referred as. Right choice. Equatorial region is the best answer. Cash crops of Amazon basin are. Well reasoned. Coffee and maize is the correct choice. Building dams is an example of. Solid response. Modifying the environment is a valid choice.
Deodars and firs are a type of.
Well picked. Coniferous trees is the correct answer.
What does the Lorax speak for? Nice selection. The trees is the correct and valid answer.
What is a renewable resource?
Great job. Trees is the accurate answer. Manioc is the staple food of. Well done. Amazon basin is the right choice. Bromeliads are also known as. Nicely done. Air plants is a solid answer. Where is Bengal tiger found? Smart move. Sundarbans Delta is an accurate answer. Bengal tigers are found in.
Good thinking. Sundarbans is the right answer.
Amazon basin is a part of. Clear logic. Your choice South America is sound and 100% true. Amazon basin located in. You got it. Your choice South America is right. What causes acid rain?
On track. Pollutants like sulfur dioxide is the correct answer.
What is a push factor?
You're right. Natural disasters is the correct answer.
Gharials are found in.
Perfect. Mangrove forests is the correct choice.
Burning fossil fuels. Right choice. Negative modification is the best answer. Made by nature. Exactly. Physical characteristics make sense, and it is right choice. Natural gas. Strong choice. Non-renewable is the right answer.
How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format.
Good job. Your answer, contact Narayan Changda on Facebook, works well here.